And that might be my old school thinking coming into play right now, because what I did not factor in to spring football locally and nationally was the fact that there's another transfer portal. Now, spring transfers are nothing new. It's happened a ton. You go in, maybe you redshirt, maybe you get sparse playing time. You come into spring, you're like, this is my year. Coaches told you this is your year. You put in a bunch of work over the holiday, and you get into spring practice. You're like, this is where I shall shine. And then you get into spring practice, and then you get into ultimately the spring game, and it becomes clear, like, all right, that they've got no plans for you. Now, sometimes coaches will just flat out tell you, we got no plans for you. Sometimes coaches tell you in other ways by not playing you in a spring game, and then after the spring game, a handful of guys transfer. It's happened a ton. Now you've got the transfer portal and the NIL. We talked about that yesterday, and how you merge those two things together, and it was like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters, right? It was like you put those two things together, and once you link them, you can't unlink them, and it's kind of made for some toxicity, and it really hasn't affected Oregon State a ton. Well, until yesterday. So until yesterday, Oregon State could hang its hat on one particular player who said over and over and over, loyalty. I'm not about the people that leave. I'm about the people that stay. Loyalty is important for me. Now, with that loyalty came a bit of a price tag, because this is the world we live in right now. And according to reports, that price tag was around $400,000. And the news broke yesterday that Damien Martinez was or is intending to enter the transfer portal, which doesn't even open up, May? Is it May, or is it the spring transfer portal? May, right?
I think it's the end of April. I believe it's like a week and a half.
Got it.
But
that doesn't matter. That's just the official put in. That's just official put in the paperwork.
Yeah.
You can plan to transfer anytime and announce it on social media or leak it to the press or whatever. Tell your friends. Your friend tells beaversedge.com, and then the news breaks. All right, so let's go through, Brenden, let's go through the time. Let's go to our Oregon State reporter on the scene, because you were there yesterday, right? Or you had guys down there. Spring practice was going on. This wasn't like it was.
I had proxies down there for me.
You had proxies down there. So spring practice is going on. The new running backs coach is meeting with the media. And then all of a sudden,
probably 10 minutes after, give or take,
rumors start circulating. So kind of go with the timeline that you hit yesterday. I'm curious.
Yeah, so
this whole thing's fascinating to me.
Yeah, practice is going normal as we'd expect. Wraps up about 12. The guys let me know that they finished up the interviews with the running backs coach, one of the running backs, and a tight end, which I think is kind of telling. And they asked him stuff about Martinez, and then all of a sudden about 12.
I mean, other than Trent Bray, Damien Martinez is the story of Oregon State heading into this season.
Oh,
he's the guy.
Yeah, he is the best player on the team. It's not close, and he was your kind of like hang your hat on the leader of your team.
Mm-hmm.
Then probably about 1:45, one of my guys texts me, "Hey, I'm hearing this," and sent out a few more confirming text messages to various sources, and they all said the same thing, Justin. He gone.
His locker was cleaned out. He obviously was not at practice. And then I saw it from Pete Thamel. I know you put it out there. A bunch of other outlets put it out there. But regardless of your sourcing, Damien Martinez is out. Now, that's a kick in the junk in and of itself. But let's dive into what I think is the important part of this, which is the financials. Because a lot of athletic departments, not just Oregon State, but a lot of athletic departments are kind of crowdsourcing their NIL. Oregon's got a bag and a bag man, and he is Captain Swoosh. But a lot of these other places have these collectives. And so, like in Oregon State, it's what is it, the Damn Right Collective? Isn't that what it's called?
Yes.
Or the Give a Damn or something with the Damn.
Damn right. Yeah.
So, and that is a collective of boosters, but also they sell merch, like crowdsource for donations to essentially secure certain players. Right? That's your honeypot in college basketball, right? Or college football, excuse me. Is how big is your, and some collectives are unlimited. Some collectives are extremely limited. The money comes in from a multitude of ways, most of which is booster donations. But like I said, now like you're crowdsourcing your high-end clientele going, yeah, please pay for season tickets, pay for the PSLs, which are professional seat licenses. To buy season tickets, you already got to donate to the athletic program. Then we'd also like you to donate to the collective so that, you can have some skin in the game because your money is going to NIL for these players. And according to Pete Thamel, $400,000. $400,000 is what the NIL number was for Damien Martinez. Now, these numbers keep getting floated around a lot. I have heard, when Bo Nix came back, I heard a lot of numbers ranging anywhere from 500,000 to 3 million. I think it was 1.6. But I don't have many sources left. Got a couple. I think it was 1.6. So what happened between the beginning of spring practice? Now, when did the driving incident happen? Because I had completely forgot about that.
It was December.
So in December.
I want to say like this first couple weeks of December. So bowl game was like 31st. So I want to say like 15th or something like that.
All right, so let's take some inventory. Civil War game happens. Brendan's in the tent. Multiple people asking Jonathan Smith about leaving for Michigan State. He gives a non-denial denial. Says, I'm not focused on that. Was it 2 days later? He was gone?
No, it was the next morning.
The next morning.
The
next morning he's wearing a Spartan scarf, and he's on a
you're on the plane.
On a private jet, and he's flying to East Lansing. So that was Thanksgiving.
But no decisions were made that night, though, Justin. Just throwing that out.
Got it. Maybe he's a fast packer. I don't know. But so Jonathan Smith leaves. And now it's like, okay, Pac-10 or Pac-12 things happening. Jonathan Smith is now gone. There's a worry that there's a mass exodus. And at what point was the first Damien Martinez's I'm not going anywhere? Is that like a week later?
Shortly after his I'm trying to remember.
Because it was before the traffic incident, right?
Like shortly thereafter. I want to say it took some time. He didn't come out right away, but it was kind of like as soon as Michigan State fans started tweeting at Damien Martinez, hey, he's coming, and he would rebuff Michigan State fans. That's where it started.
That's where it started. And then Aiden Childs was leaving.
Yes.
And then and then all of a sudden he throws out the beaver emoji and the lock emoji saying, I'm not going anywhere.
With the Jordan Belfort gif on top of it all. The I'm not leaving.
Boom.
So, I mean, come on.
Beaver fans rejoice. All right. Might have lost our coach. Might have lost our quarterback. We got our bell cow, though, right? We got our running back. There's something to build on there. And I remember at the time talking about how I think this is such a mature decision because he's going to go to the NFL. He's going to make money as an NFL running back, I would imagine. But legacy is something that is getting murkier and murkier in college football, right? What is your legacy? DJU, what's his legacy? Where does he go back to homecoming, right? When if he does go to the NFL, which who knows, on his bye week, where does he go back and watch a game? Because he's now going to play for 3 different college football programs. And Damien Martinez had that. It's like, he's Oregon State legend. You were the guy. You were the one that stayed. Then he gets pulled over. Cop smells some weed. Traffic incident happens. And this is before the bowl game. And essentially, it sounded like they all met and said, Damien, here's what we need to do. Let's get you out of town. You're not playing in the bowl game. We're not going to risk. Trent Bray's not coaching in the bowl game. We're trying to put a roster together. You're not going to play in this bowl game. So why don't you go back to Texas? Go back to Texas. Enjoy Christmas with the fam. Stick around. New Year's. Enjoy. Fresh start spring term. Came back. Presumably collected some money. Goes into spring practice. Now, Oregon State split spring practices before and after with a spring break in between, correct?
Spring break and dead week. So they did 2 weeks.
2 weeks on.
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and then close out with 3 weeks.
And
we're in the middle of that.
And maybe a spring game if there's enough guys.
Yeah, 10 days from now. So, but yeah, I mean,
so
I went back to look just to see, like, if there was anything I missed. And, you know, I feel, Justin, like after that moment in the Autzen Stadium tent, I can tell when someone's giving me coach speak now and can tell when someone's beating around the bush and kind of lying through their teeth.
Yeah, because coaches are very direct.
Yes.
Coaches, that's how you become a coach, right? You can't get a team to follow you anywhere if you're like, well, I haven't made up my mind yet. It's like, no, coaches are very direct. And when they are not direct, something's up.
Exactly.
Something's up.
So, like, again, it was like March 8th. So, again, about a month, actually. But, you know, we talked to Damien, and I mentioned it to you, Justin, like, that clip, I mean, it's like you said, one of the first questions was asked is, why did you decide to stay? Why did you decide to stay? And for him, he's like, you know, everyone's got to do what's best for them and their career. For me, it was loyalty.
It was loyalty. A lot of loyalty talk, a lot of I'm not leaving, a lot of I'm a Beaver for life, once a Beaver, always a Beaver, all that stuff. Now, loyalty came, as I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, a little bit of a price tag. Now, again, I refer to my Oregon State reporter. Sounded like the Oregon State Collective essentially scraped the bottom of the barrel to get Damien Martinez a good amount of money so that he could stay. Like, the coffers aren't exactly overflowing with readily available cash, and that they had scraped the bottom of the barrel of their collective to pay him. So, did he get the money? Did the checks clear? We'll never know because neither side's going to talk. That's the other thing about this whole NIL thing, right? Remember, NIL was supposed to bring everything above the table. So it's too much under the table. We need to bring it above the table, yet all these guys are transferring, and it's very unclear. Did they get paid? Did they spurn somebody? Did they
My gut.
what was it? Take the money and run.
Yeah, my gut tells me that NIL is a little bit like paychecks where it's spread out across multiple payments. Probably not yearly, but like, for instance, did Bo Nix get the whole $1.5 million up front? Probably not. It's probably like, we'll give you $250K in September, $250K in, but I have no idea. That's just my guess. But they could have been like, yeah, here's the check. There's like,
is it a lump sum? Or, by the way, we didn't talk about this.
Northeast Portland, baby.
Columbia Boulevard.
I would have never been there. It would have been theoretically possible for you to buy a ticket there.
It's a little further away than my neighborhood.
But for me, it's like I was never up there.
You know who does live near there?
Chris Burkhardt?
Tyson Alger is going to be on the program.
Chris over in Hap. Yeah,
Tyson Alger is going to be on the program in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
He's in that, like, do we know something maybe? I don't know.
Oh, man, what I wouldn't have given to been at that Northeast Plaid Pantry, though. Whoo, Nelly.
Did I ever tell you when I was a kid I thought Plaid Pantry was a paint store?
That's awesome.
Because again,
that's awesome.
We had, where I grew up, we had 7-Eleven, and then in Eugene, you had Dairy Mart. Dairy Mart was where you went to the convenience store. And then up here was all the Plaid Pantry. And I remember seeing, like, man, there's a lot of paint stores in Portland.
Man,
Because
you go down to
I thought, like, if you look at it honest to goodnessly without knowing exactly, Plaid Pantry looks like a paint store.
Kind of does.
Anyways,
yeah.
Let's get back to the money part of this.
Yeah.
So presumably Damien Martinez maybe didn't get all the $400,000, but he got some of it. So what happened? What happened in the last 3 weeks? I've got some theories. Theory number one. which anytime there is confusion, Brenden, what is our guideline when there is confusion? We follow the money. So maybe he got a better offer. Maybe some collective, and we're all assuming Texas, right? But we don't know. But we're assuming Texas A&M. Can't imagine it'd be Baylor.
I'll tell you this, Justin, real quick from my
maybe SMU. Did SMU come with a big bag?
They could. From my I'll say this: Beaver fans would be disappointed but understanding. He goes to Michigan State. All bets are off, man.
Okay. I'm not shocked with anything. If he goes to Michigan State, knock me over with a feather. Shocked. I would be very, very surprised. Now,
I wouldn't rule it out.
I didn't even think about it. It's just assumed he's from Texas. Texas loves football. They see a running back that can be bought. Here come the Longhorns. Here come the Aggies. Maybe here come the Ponies, right? Because with SMU now being in the ACC and essentially an unlimited budget, like SMU was like, yeah, we'll join the ACC. Don't pay us anything.
Yeah,
we're good. So I'm assuming it's one of those schools.
Most likely, but yet.
Or maybe Oklahoma. I don't know, because Oklahoma's technically Texas.
Yeah, I was chit-chatting with former co-worker here at Rip City Radio, Stephen Vaughn, yesterday about
that
this.
Guy.
And,
what's his deal? Where's he been?
Just living his best life, man.
I guess.
But we
haven't heard anything about that guy.
We were chit-chatting about this, and he was like, dude, would it really surprise you if Jonathan got to Michigan State, ran up a few practices, and was like, these running backs ain't it? It's not out of the realm, man.
It's not. But we'll see. I still think somebody smart down in Texas is like, dude, we got to go get this guy. And it's not. So
that would make the wound a little bit deeper, I think, Justin.
So maybe it's a money deal, right? Maybe somebody offered the bag, and maybe it's a money deal. Theory number two. Theory number two. By the way, no, I said theory, not Siri. Siri popped up on my phone. It was all well and good after Civil War, and it was all well and good even though he didn't play in the bowl game. But then spring practice happened, and at the beginning of spring practice, Damien Martinez was talking about loyalty, and then he got behind an offensive line that is not what it used to be, and an offensive coordinator that ain't what he's used to, and a staff that maybe has some familiar faces, but is this the offense? This is not the offense that I have been running, and a quarterback that right now looks like Ben Goldbranson might be the guy, unless one of these transfers kind of steps up in spring, and looking around going like, I was loyal until I saw what, like I can deal with the Mountain West thing, but I don't know if I can run behind this offense. And combined with all of that, maybe somebody got in his ear and was like, this is going to cost you draft status, right? This you play in this offense with this offensive line that's not the offensive line that you ran behind last year. This is going to cost you in the draft, and you are going to fall down draft boards. You need to think about you, and I think it's probably a combination of both of those things. But man, oh man, what a day. What a day. And, well, sadly, what a week, because who is it? Pope, he's gone, basketball player. 2 of your top 3 women's basketball players in the portal, and now Damien Martinez. It's been a week and a half?
It's a hard week to be a Beaver, man.
You guys are built for this. But
so they say.
I'm just saying, all these people that told me, because I was not on board with the NIL, I was like, oh, it's going to be above board. Doesn't sound like it is. Doesn't sound like it's really above board. All right, we're going to have more on this probably coming up in Make or Miss. But a couple of injury scares in the NBA last night. We got Round Ball Rock next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, what a night in the NBA last night. Blazers returned to Moda Center. I had really good seats. All right, where is the bragging about your seats on the annoying level of bragging, right? I feel like the most annoying level of, because is humble brag still a thing? Because there was a while they're like, oh, hashtag humble brag, right? Is humble brag still a thing? You're in tune with the youth.
Yeah, no.
Not a thing anymore. Good. I'm glad.
I haven't heard it in a long time.
It needed to go because it was an oxymoron that just did not work, right? The whole humble brag. But I think the most annoying thing is when people talk about how much money they make. Addendum to that, how much gambling money they've won, right? Because you're not talking about how much gambling you're losing. But I'll be honest, I don't care if I'm annoying or not. I had really good seats last night.
There's a couple more that come to mind. Again, no one cares about your fantasy team.
Yeah, that one's annoying. Your bracket.
No one cares about your bracket. No one honestly.
Do people care about where I sat last night at the game? Do people care? These listeners right now, are they sick of it? Are they like, would they rather me talk about my workout?
No. I can confidently say that one. Pretty confidently.
But the Blazers went down 110, 100. Too many turnovers. They
nice to see CJ, I bet.
CJ came in the first half, felt like he was on a bit of a mission.
Your Twitter best friend.
He was.
Was.
I mean, no, it still is. I mean, the tweet it's still up there. It still exists. Hasn't been deleted yet, unlike Damien Martinez's Twitter account, which is completely scrubbed.
Wiped.
That's how you know, I don't know Damien Martinez, but that's how you know there might be some outside influences here, because who is that self-aware at that age to go back and scrub their social media all before they set to
That's give old Jennifer the login. We'll take care of it for you, Damien.
Yeah. So talk about that. That might be coming up. But other great performances in and around the NBA. Playoffs are shaping up. A scare in Milwaukee. Let's get to Round Ball Rock with John Tesh. All right, so Giannis goes down, non-contact injury, grabs his calf. Ooh, no. Grab the calf. That usually means Achilles. According to Woj and Shams and multiple other sources, MRI is conclusive that Achilles intact. Giannis has not suffered a torn Achilles, which it looked like was a potential yesterday in the middle of that game. Calf strain, but calf strains are tricky, as we have seen, because I don't think you treat Giannis like you would treat any other player, especially with Milwaukee. Normal calf strain 1 to 2 weeks. That's right at the beginning of the first round. Because I think with superstars, you always go top of the timetable, right? 1 to 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks. And they say also the 1 to 2 weeks is going to be determined based on the reaction to rehab. So the Milwaukee Bucks might not have Giannis available in the first round. Who are they going to be facing in the first round? That could be very interesting because the Pacers won and the Sixers won last night. So they kind of hold their spots with just a handful of games left, trying to stay above that line. It might be the Sixers. It might be the Heat waiting in the wings for a maybe hobbled, maybe not 100% Giannis. Other things in the NBA. Mavericks get a win over the Hornets. That shouldn't surprise you. Luka goes for 39, 12, and 10. He drops a triple-double. In the 76ers win, Embiid went for 37 and 11, 8 assists in his performance. Jalen Brunson dropped in 45 points last night as the Knicks beat the Bulls. We may talk about the Bulls coming up a little bit later because as the Bulls head coach, eyeballing Lexington, Kentucky, he had some interesting answers. But Jalen Brunson dropped in 45 points last night. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in a Thunder win over the Kings, he went for 40 points, which made me very excited, Brenden, because I may have a financial investment on one Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, winning the most valuable player. He's still in it, still in it. So I'm kind of pumped. I'm like, yeah, Luka went for a triple-double. But Shai dropped in 40. They got to win over the Thunder. They're still in the mix to be the number one team in the West. Then Anthony Edwards put in 51. Is Anthony Edwards going to steal my MVP? Mine, like it's like I get a piece of it, but is Anthony Edwards going to come in with the MVP? Is Luka going to come in and win MVP? I think Jokic is the best player in the league, but I think we've got Jokic fatigue. We've talked about this a handful of times. It's down to those three guys, right? Luka, Shai, Anthony Edwards. Am I missing Jason Tatum? Jason Tatum definitely going to be in the mix.
See, I still put Jokic in the mix. Like, to say he's not in the mix, I think is a little naive. Despite the,
I think you're right. If this was all as it should be, but we've heard from people like the MVP is a narrative award. We've kind of been there, done that.
like I said, we've had this discussion time and time again, and I think there are other guys that are coming. But for my bottom dollar right now, Justin, there's not a better basketball player.
He's the best basketball player
on planet Earth.
I agree. I agree with you.
But
that doesn't really win you MVP,
but you're
though,
right.
sometimes.
It's a narrative. So I see the only, and this is just my opinion, the only contender to Jokic, I think, is Shai. I think Anthony Edwards could have a case.
Come on, Shai.
But I just don't see an MVP going to Minnesota right now.
The Thunder have got to get the number one seed, I think. I think if the Thunder, now they're only a game back, and they could. They're just one game back. If the Thunder get the number one seed, I think Shai gets the MVP.
Jokic, well, here's the key with that, Justin, because I remember kindly the year that Jokic won his first MVP, they were a 4 or a 5 seed.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember you saying, how can a guy who's a 4 or 5 seed win MVP?
How could he win MVP? Because remember, that's what everybody said about Damien
with that,
for all those years.
Who's 4 and 5 right now? Or somebody who could be sneaking up, right? That would be interesting to keep an eye on. So that's where I go. Keep an eye out for Shai. He's had some buzz this year. I don't see Luka. I think Kyrie splits it up too much. But watch out for Luke, or watch out for Shai. Maybe Edwards. I just don't see an MVP going to Minnesota right now.
Russell Westbrook goes for 16, 15, and 15 in a very Russell Westbrook type triple-double. Clippers beat the Suns last night. And the Warriors. The Warriors beat the Lakers. Can the Warriors sneak out of that first? They're about a game and a half. But the Warriors and the Lakers look like they are headed for the play-in once again. All right, there you go. There is news and notes around the league. More on the Blazer game last night. More on Damien Martinez's exit. The scare in Giannis, and what does that mean for potentially the postseason for the Milwaukee Bucks? And who knows what else we get into. Hour number 2 coming up next, 620, Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trail Blazers fall to the New Orleans Pelicans at Moda Center last night, 110-100. Handful of games now left in the season for the Blazers. They'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors on Thursday, Houston Rockets on Friday, and then wrapping up the season against Sacramento Kings. Big news out of Corvallis yesterday as Oregon State running back Damien Martinez is set to hit the transfer portal per multiple reports. He will be one of the most sought-after running backs in the transfer portal. This, of course, after months and months of him talking about loyalty and that he is staying in Corvallis. Stanford women's basketball coach Tara Vanderveer is set to retire as the all-time winningest coach in women's basketball with 1,216 victories. She announced her retirement yesterday. Tyson Alger is not retiring from anything. He's going to be joining us in the third hour, but hour two of the big show starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden had himself a day yesterday, as the transfer portal has not been kind to the Beaver Believers. It has been a rough week and a half now. I did notice that somebody in our fair city, I would assume our fair city, came into an awful lot of money the other day. Northeast Portland on Columbia, Plaid Pantry here in Portland. Somebody's won $1.5 billion. That wasn't me because I don't play the lottery. Brendan's been at work for the last 3 days, so I'm assuming it wasn't you.
Well, I bought tickets though, just not there.
Golly, does that, like, as somebody who plays the lottery, is it like would you almost rather like somebody in like South Carolina wins it?
Yeah, this is tough.
Because you and I may have driven by that particular Plaid Pantry at any one time.
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time in Northeast.
But you never know,
but yeah. Actually, I don't spend a lot of time in Portland proper, to be honest. Justin was far more likely than I.
I probably have driven past that Plaid Pantry a handful of times. Tyson Alger, he's a North Sider. He's going to join us in an hour and 15. And if he doesn't pick up his phone, then we'll know Tyson was the Powerball winner. Like, all right, so let's play this hypothetical game. I'm fascinated by lottery winners because I've always had kind of this. It's funny because I don't play the lottery, but you always have like this fantasy of like, what would you do, right? What would you do? And do you tell anybody? Do you tell everybody? Do you help out your friends? Like, who's in the friend circle that's going to get some? Like, it's kind of like NIL in college football, right? Could you imagine? Like, you get all this money in, and it's like, all right, family, got to do it, right? Family got to help out. Then you've got like your first friend group that maybe you'll help out here. Like, at some point, you're going to run up against a friend where you're like, yeah, we're good friends, but we're not money friends. If you won the Powerball, would you tell, and would you try to keep it a secret? Because I would try to keep it a secret. I don't know how I would, but I would try to keep it a secret.
Yeah, I've already got my plan for this because it won't happen, right?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear the plan.
But, yeah, like, I've already identified the people who are going to be in my circle, and therefore
How we doing?
That circle.
How we doing?
And that, like, say, mom, brothers, best friend, yada, yada, small circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone.
Like radio host?
Everyone in that circle.
Like co-worker?
I mean, depends on how many millions we're talking about here.
Guy that brings you a coffee every Friday? I don't know. That guy in your circle? I'm just wondering. Maybe like,
their significant others.
Like 30 G's?
Their significant other. And then we're all going to go basically just, yeah. I mean, it's like, if I won the lottery, it's like, okay, my best friend, you're not going to work anymore either, so we can travel together, right? Like, my parents are not going to work anymore, right? Like, just things like that. Other than that, I don't play to tell anybody other than kind of just disappear off the face of the earth a little bit.
Wouldn't it be funny, like, you go to your best friend, you're like, look, I could give you all this money, but would you really appreciate it? So I'm going to do you a favor. Like, you need to do some jobs. Do you, like, because I'm old enough to have gone through multiple, like, I have multiple friendships, right? Like, I have friends who are my lifelong friends, guys who I played t-ball with, right? Who I still keep in touch with. And then I've got kind of some like early adult friends, and then I have my friends, which are my wife's friends' husbands. Like that's what you do in your 40s if you're. But like, so I've got. Do you think? Because I have, and I'm not going to name names, but I have some friends that I do think could handle the fact that maybe I am 100 millionaire, because you don't get the full billion. But I have friends that I know like this would not end well. And there would be a strained relationship. But I would try to keep it a secret, but I don't know how you do. I don't know how you keep it a secret,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
in Oregon, I learned this. You can only hide your identity for so long because it has to be public.
Yeah, that's nonsense, by the way.
So that's
and again, we don't get political on this. Is this which side of the aisle is this one on? I don't know.
neither. No, it's
This
not.
might be actual bipartisan. Let the people be in secret, right? We
Yeah.
don't need okay, we know where the ticket was purchased. That's kind of cool. Let the people just keep it a secret, don't you think? That's kind of mean. Hey, scam artists, this person just got $400 million. Please don't rob them, though, because you can find out where everyone lives on Google now.
That's true. I mean, but by that point, like, again, Justin, the second that ticket was green and lit up, two things you're going to do. You're going to hire an accountant, and then you're going to go to the most inconspicuous place that no one would ever think to look for you while you figure out your moves. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's safe to say that if
You think there's a lot of people in Northeast Portland looking around at their neighbors, going like, "All right, this guy, that's a new car.
without a doubt,
That's a new car."
without a doubt. I mean, yeah, I mean that's a lot of money for a area that isn't blessed with a ton of wealth. I'll just say this.
I think it kind of
Depends on Northeast.
I guess
I'm like
There's-
Northeast isn't the best part of Portland, but yeah, I mean it's.
But like there's like around Grant High School, that's like nice.
Yeah, for sure,
in there.
But no, like I actually don't physically like I know where Columbia Boulevard is, but I'm not 100% sure where that.
Well, I think they've got about 57 plaid pantries.
Yeah, that's probably
on and
true, too.
around Columbia Boulevard.
It's true. But yeah, no, it's I mean, someone is very happy, Justin.
Big day for plaid pantry, by the way.
That Plaid Pantry gets $100K for selling the winning ticket.
Do they really?
They do. So good for them.
Like the cashier, or
the
like
store owner.
the
gets
store owner.
$100,000.
Okay, let's play another game because it's fake money and it's not. Let's just say, Brenden, at some point you decided I feel like an investment is going to be convenience stores, which I don't know the economics of it, but I love a good convenience store. They seem to be thriving. They're not closing up shop anytime soon.
Amazon hasn't made convenience stores yet. So.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, because
Wait till it's just the Amazon store. Oh my gosh! Can you
but the whole point of the convenience store is I'm driving home. I want a Dr. Pepper. Boom! It's right there. Right.
Well, I'm just saying, what if it's Amazon gas stations, just and you walk inside and
Okay, does Amazon work? I don't think Amazon works as a brick and mortar. I don't think it does. They tried the grocery store thing where they read your face and then they.
I remember that.
And I'm like, that's not going to work. The good folks at Safeway and at Fred Meyer, they've been doing this a while. Like I don't. There's so much science and technology. I think Amazon works because we don't want to get our lazy behinds off the couch.
It's probably true.
When we order, like, hey, we need an extension cord. Amazon, like, that's how Amazon works, and it.
Justin, I've been.
But like a convenience store is like, hey, we're having the barbecue's going good. We're running low on Coors Lights.
It's true. Though,
Block and a half down. Beer run?
Yeah, I'll admit this, Justin, and I've been lazy enough to where early in the morning, like I don't know, 9, 10 a.m., I've been like, oh, I need this I'm trying to think what exactly it was, but something, incidental. I
Mhm.
need this for something I've got going on tonight, whether it be like a adapter for my laptop or one thing I bought recently
Yeah.
or something like that. And it was, well, I could drive and go pick it up.
You
at
have it in
Walmart,
your hand right there.
But Amazon same-day delivery
It's right there. It's free.
has it by between 3 and 5 p.m. And I've done that.
And
I
you're
mean,
probably on the Prime, right?
yeah, I mean, and it's like I will not be ashamed to admit, yeah, I totally have ordered something same day off Amazon. I could have probably went and got it at Walmart for the exact same price. I just didn't want to get
but that's
behind in a car and drive.
Maybe the whole Walmart's not any better than Amazon. Like, they're all the same.
Just like, yeah, they're all the
But I'm
same.
just okay. So here's the original question, which is you open up a slew of convenience stores, and you're doing well with the lottery, and you hire
Calling it the 503.
you hire your employees, and you pay them a decent wage, and they've got a good life. One employee sells the winning ticket, and you, as a business owner, you get $100,000. How much you kicking down? Is that? Do you go like, hey, look, all you did was push the button. I'm the one. Do you keep all of it?
No.
Do you go 50-50? Do you go like, hey,
here's the problem.
gifts for everybody that
Yeah,
works here? Like, let's get like some nice,
Yeah, you can't.
like a nice.
I don't think you can favoritism there. So I
You
think
got to give it to everybody.
So I think it's like a nice little.
What do the beans mean, Michael?
Yeah, like a nice little bonus. Like nothing crazy because I mean I guess it is.
Ice cream sandwiches.
I guess
is this our special treat?
Oh no, I was gonna say like say like $500, $1,000 each. You probably got like 8 employees at a Plaid Pantry, maybe a little bit more. Then you keep the 90, they keep the 8, 10, something like that.
What's better to get, like?
I'd love a bonus,
Like just cash or like something extravagant that like you wouldn't buy for yourself. You know what I mean?
he could buy the whole.
Like everybody gets
the guy could buy Apple
55-inch TVs
or Apple Watches.
Or everybody gets Apple Watches.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it makes you look.
Yeah, like a better
It's like
boss,
Santa Claus.
man. But I've said forever. I mean, it's one of those things where, maybe one hand washes the other, right? You take care of your employees, and maybe it'll turn back around. But no, Justin, I would definitely keep like 85 of that for myself.
Well,
at least.
Congratulations to whoever is a billionaire or close to a billionaire.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you're a listener, just saying, provide a lot of hours of free entertainment. All right. We have got Make or Miss coming up in just a bit. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about the good folks at DeBella. That's right. They're Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. Proud supporter of Operation Homefront. And right now you can take advantage of the amazing financing opportunity that we talk about so much. That's right. 0 payments until 2025. Even if you are a Powerball winner, you don't have to make a payment until 2025. Of course, that's on approved credit. 15,000 5-star reviews on Google for DeBella's excellent work. Plus, they've been featured in Better Homes and Garden, HGTV, award-winning customer service with accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor. So contact DeBella today for a free, no-obligation appointment. Schedule on a time that works for you. They are Oregon's experts when it comes to roofing, siding, windows, and bath. They're a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. They are DeBella. All right, in an hour from now, we're going to talk to Tyson Alger, friend of the program, from the I-5 corridor. We're going to get into stuff I saw on the internet coming up in a bit. This from Larry on X or Twitter, because I mentioned how Amazon hasn't quite taken over for convenience stores. I think are still thriving. It just, again, one convenience store really having a good quarter because they just sold a $1.4 billion lottery ticket. So Larry on Twitter said, go 1.5 blocks. By the way, 1.5 blocks is where the convenience store is to my house. So like that's my frame of reference is like I actually have 3 within like a 3-block radius. That's why I think convenience stores are thriving. Because I think folks DoorDash for those convenience store. DoorDash, like
They do. You can, like, if I get something on Uber Eats, for instance.
okay, that is the
then
peak of laziness.
Well, yeah, like I've done that. Well, actually, yeah, I have done that before. Where like I like to get like Qdoba delivered on Uber Eats sometimes. It's not super close to me, and as soon as you place the order, it goes. You've got 5 minutes to add anything from Jackson's at Chevron. 5 minutes to add anything from Safeway.
Really?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're already there, you think?
Well, say that again.
Because they're already there?
It's in the same little hub, so it's like if we can get you to buy something else, it's, it just increases that.
Okay, can I ask you another thing real quick? And then
Sure.
I want to get to make or miss.
Yeah.
We have talked multiple times on this show about the tipping culture that is going on in and around our world, which has gotten, and I'm all for people getting paid, and I'm all for good work being rewarded. I have a hard time tipping before the service. Do you know what I mean? Like, I go through and I get our fancy coffee each and every Friday. And if I go through and it's the person whom usually works there, which I am very fond of, I know that I'm going to get good service. I know they're going to make good drinks. And then after the fact, I go back in my app and I add a tip. But I see all these videos on my TikTok of like the delivery drivers that are like furious and like getting into confrontation with people because they DoorDash, but like they didn't leave a tip, and it's like you haven't delivered the food yet. Now, hand up, I don't DoorDash. I think I've done it maybe once or twice. I am still a Gen X. Get in my car, I'll go pick up the pizza. Thank you very much. I don't do it. You DoorDash every once in a while. You dabble in the Uber Eats.
It's expensive.
Do you tip before? Like, because I see these
Yeah.
videos. I see these videos on the TikTok, and the people are fired up and they're angry and they're like, there's a tip button, and like they throw the food at them and like, but you haven't delivered the food yet. How am I supposed to tip you if you haven't done a good job yet? And
Well,
I'm all for, like I said, I'm not a no tip and pippin'. All right, I'm not a cheapo, but I want to reward good service.
I think it encourages it. So the way I see it is if I leave
So it's a bribe. That's not a tip. That's a bribe.
Yeah, if I leave a better tip, they get it to me faster.
Yeah, it's a bribe.
I'm fully convinced of that.
All right. So now we're greasing the wheels.
But
a little
yeah,
bit.
I mean, I'll call a spade. But again, granted, like it's one of those things, Justin, where I see people in my neighborhood who get food delivered all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know how people can't afford it because again, it's one of those things where like it's very simple for me. Say, a Big Mac combo at McDonald's. I mean, I think nowadays it's probably like
It's like $11.
yeah,
isn't it?
$11, right? No way with a tip and delivery fees, that's less than $20, Justin. No way, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So would you pay a near 100% markup just to get it delivered? So that's where it's
Well,
like,
some people will because and I don't want to cast judgment, but like some people that it's worth it.
right.
As
so,
opposed to, burning some calories and getting
right.
in your
so
car and
you
going,
were asking me, so it's like, yeah, that's why it's like once in a blue moon because I'm like, man, I could get like 3-4 meals out of this price. You know what I mean?
Well,
so yeah,
I
sure.
hear you, but like, let's just say, all right, so here's where a dilemma I've been in, right? It was like, hey, I'm at home, I've had some drinks, right? It's Friday, it's rosé night at the Myers house, and maybe we need some food.
You still got a good stock? You got to go to Costco sometime soon.
Need to go to Costco.
I went to Costco over the weekend. It was
Yeah.
a mistake.
Wait a minute.
I don't go.
Wait, hold on.
I don't
Just
go.
wait a gall darn minute there, because I remember a couple of months ago I mentioned how I should have earned a medal because I went to Costco not only on a Saturday, but I went to Costco on a Saturday in December. And I feel like when they check out your receipt in Saturdays in December, you should get a medal like the people that finished the marathon because you did it. You made it. You got out. And you said, Justin, I would never. I would never.
Funny story.
So now you're going to
stories.
Costco on weekends.
So see, funny story. We were coming back from Spirit Mountain, and all of a sudden, Mom's like, "I need to get something at Costco," and I'm like,
"Yeah, buddy."
And I was like, "All right, I'll drop you off. I will park. I will not go in with you." And she was all happy to. Yep, it was literally like,
you just sit on your phone.
Oh yeah,
look at Instagram Reels.
I
or
couldn't
something?
even. I had this. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Wilsonville Costco. Probably not.
I've been.
But like, I was parked over at the Target.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yeah,
welcome to the Thunderdome.
This ain't for me, man." And that's why I sat there and I actually referenced you. I said, "I have accosted Justin for going to Costco on weekends.
And here you
on
sit.
principle, I cannot go in with you." So I sat in the car, man,
and looked at your Instagram.
Got gas, man. But yeah, so funny story.
Okay, so again, I don't like. So if like say we're sitting there, had some wine, I was like, we need some food. Oh, we don't have any food. You got DoorDash then, because obviously I'm not getting in a car at that particular point.
Sure.
So like, and
what would you get? Like pizza or something like that? I mean,
yeah. Normally pizza would be the only thing.
Sure.
Like, if I'm gonna have anyways, we don't have time to dive into that. But my point is, I see these videos of these DoorDash and Uber Eats, and again, if you are good for you, respect the hustle. Good work should be rewarded, but a tip is not a tip if it's a bribe. Do you know what I mean? Some may call it an incentive. It's a bribe. So if it's the app's fault, then I shake my fist at you, Silicon Valley. You should be able to tip after the fact. And also people, when they deliver your food, you should tip them if they do a good job. But like, that's where I don't understand. It's like, hey, would you like to add a tip? I'm like, they haven't done the thing yet. I don't know. It's not Tuesday, but I don't know how my algorithm got caught up on angry food delivery people for no tips. And it's like, well, if you do, you get it afterwards. Because you did a good job. Just like at the coffee, like when I get a fancy coffee and I'm like, hey, thank you, Danny, for making a tremendous coffee. 36th and Pal, shout out. Tip afterwards because I know you've done it. Because I have trust and faith in you. But if you're some newbie, well, I got to know. All right, here's what I don't need to know. Is that Make or Miss is coming up right now.
All right, firing up Make or Miss today. Billy Donovan is playing the game.
All right, so I saw now I saw the clip. Do we have the clip? All right, let's find the clip first, because when coaches start doing stuff like this, boy, you can really skew whatever you want it to be. So I saw some people say, he clearly turned down the job. And I saw some people say, interesting of what he didn't say as opposed to what he did say. And so I went and I watched the clip multiple times and thought to myself, boy, that's as I learned on West Wing, that is a non-denial denial. But then I was listening to something else this morning. They were like, oh, yeah, Billy Donovan turned down the Kentucky job. I'm like, did he? So we're all going to listen to it again here, hopefully in a few moments. You got the spinning wheel of death there? Yeah. Because when I heard it, I thought, it's not an outright denial. But then I guess some people heard it and was like, maybe. So are we good? All right, here's Here's Billy Donovan when asked about the Kentucky rumors. Didn't ask you about that. Just speculation. You have not. Okay.
As it turns out, we've all learned.
That's the stock answer of a coach that is clearly in contact with Kentucky.
Yeah, my agent is. It's like, again,
100%.
You know, this is not quite Willie Taggart. Like, why wouldn't I be?
But it goes
close.
by the same. Brenden, you know this because you went through it with Jonathan Smith. I went through it with Cristobal and with Willie Taggart, and most fans have gone through this at some point, right? There is a blueprint here. First thing you do, talk about your family, right? Yeah, you know, I obviously have a tremendous history there. I was an assistant with Coach Patino. My family, I mean, it's like, then you talk about how you haven't had any contact, which is why you hire an agent. It's the only reason. Well, that and multitude of other reasons. But the biggest reason why, as a coach, you hire an agent is so you can say that. Then you make a joke, which I think he said later on, he's like, well, I don't even know if John's like, well, yeah, John Calipari put out an official statement. He's out. He's going to Arkansas. That deal is done. I don't even know if it's open yet. That's the Willie.
Yeah, that part wasn't.
That's the Willie Taggart of why wouldn't I be good? Make a joke. Talk about how hard your guys are working. Like, there's a blueprint here, and he followed it. So if you're,
it's uncanny too.
So if you're someone that is like, he clearly said he's committed to the, like, yeah, he says that, but.
But also, if you're
didn't deny it,
and no disrespect to, like I said, I think Billy Donovan's an awesome coach. I think he kind of was, you know, like I said, when he got hired to go be Oklahoma City's head coach, they were contenders and really good. And then all of a sudden, Dame waved them away, and he was not going to be the coach in charge of a rebuild, right?
Yes.
So he kind of got a raw deal when he's like, I came here to coach Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and Paul George. And / Carmelo Anthony, and now they're all gone.
And then he went to the Bulls, and he was like, all right, well, I got Levine and I got DeMar DeRozan, and it turns out they're not really all that interested in playing good basketball anymore.
And, you know, you got dealt a crummy hand in the sense of Lonzo Ball, Justin. Like,
yeah,
remember,
and then my point guard might never play basketball again.
Yeah, like, remember for a brief moment, and this is really going back in the Wayback Machine, 2 NBA seasons ago, Justin, when it was just before, I want to say, like, Christmas, and you're like, do we have to worry about the Chicago Bulls? Because they were, like, top 3 in the East. Lonzo was playing great.
Played good basketball. Levine hadn't been disgruntled yet.
Yep, DeRozan
and DeRozan looked like a top 15 player in the league.
He did. And we're like, oh, wow, look, Billy Donovan can coach. Since then, you know, you find out you lose your point guard. That's pretty tough. And Lonzo,
your point guard, Levine was ready to be – he's – requested a trade with 4 years left on a contract.
Yeah,
and then they said no because Reinsdorf is
Reinsdorf.
Reinsdorf is like, you know, I don't know if you saw that documentary, but
you don't
see what I did to Scottie Pippen.
I don't trade
good
players.
luck getting out of this. I'm not trading you. And what DeRozan's battled some injuries too.
And he's just getting older.
And
DeRozan's like 30 something, right? So I think when you look at all that's to say, I think Billy Donovan's a very solid coach. Now, with that being said, they're probably not going to get the 8th seed. Maybe they do, but I think they're what? Like, I don't have the standings in front of me.
I do. They are
9 or 10?
They are 9 right now.
Okay. So,
but that doesn't matter, right? Because 7 plays 8, and then 9 plays 10, and then loser of the above and winner of the below face off. So they would have to win 2 games, one of which would be against either the Sixers or the Heat. So they got to beat the Hawks.
Yeah.
Because they're 7 games below the 8th spot.
Yeah, I don't know
if this is exactly what Adam Silver envisioned when he put together this play-in, that the 37-42 and 36-43 Bulls and Hawks were going to potentially sneak in only to get swept by the Celtics if they even, in fact, win those 2 games. Don't know if that was really the vision.
Well, let me ask
But
you
in
this.
the Western Conference, they get LeBron versus Steph again.
Oh, that's great.
Again.
That's great. But I'm curious for you with that whole Reinsdorf thing, because the only hair in the soup that I saw here, Justin, was the Bulls would have to let him out of his contract in some way, shape, or form. He's under contract for 2 more years. So I would assume that means he can't just be like, the heck with you guys, I'm leaving, and then go coach. I think then Chicago could sue him, right? So,
I don't know the ins and the outs.
So,
here's what
like non-competes and all that stuff. It's very confusing to me.
Here's what I would assume. I would assume Jerry Reinsdorf would be like, okay, so I kind of want to fire you, but I don't want to pay you. You take the Kentucky job, then I am not the bad guy. They foot the bill.
Yeah, no one's
and
the bad guy.
I get you off my books free and clear, and I go and I hire somebody else. Like
pretty smart.
Win. If in fact he wants to go coach at Kentucky.
It's a win because I win too, Justin.
Yes, we all win. I still think Scott Drew at Baylor is the number 1 candidate. I would, because of all the other guys that have turned it down. Nate Oates turned it down. Clearly, Dan Hurley's turned it down. Dan Hurley's wife turned it down.
Dude, she did. That was awesome.
She's like, yeah, she's never leaving Connecticut, gang.
That was so cool.
And, you know, maybe there's a couple of coaches out there who might be using it as leverage. You might see some other names getting leaked in the next couple of days because they'll ultimately get extensions. But I think it's Scott Drew.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. Another name, Justin, that you probably think is crazy, and I think it's crazy too. But there was a quote that came across my landscape last night. Dan Dickau, Gonzaga alum, said Kentucky's probably going to call Mark Few. But then again, everybody's called Mark.
Everybody's called Mark.
They
Few.
have. But my question is, Justin, a Blue Bloods maybe never called Mark Few, other than UCLA.
Well, yeah.
Right?
So here's the.
It doesn't strike me as his
the 1 in a million. What was all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah.
Here's all the 1 in a million talk with Mark Few. Now I don't know the man. I know where he's from, right? He is a man from Corvallis. He is a man from the 541, and he has said over and over and over again when Oregon came calling, when Washington came calling, when UCLA came calling, I would assume a handful. Arizona, I would imagine, came calling at one
probably
point
before
in time.
Tommy Lloyd, I'm sure.
And I think maybe even before Sean Miller. Remember, this is how long Mark Few's been at the top of the game. And he said, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. I love Spokane. The only, maybe you get a Chris Peterson, because remember, Chris Peterson was never going to leave Boise. Chris Peterson was never going to leave Boise. He was never going to leave Boise. And then finally he was like,
all right,
if I'm ever going to do it,
it's now.
It's now. And so maybe Mark Few
61.
is like, if I ever am going to have a chance to do it, it's going to be now. But here's where I think the wrench is in that, the hair in the soup, the wrench in the gears, or the fly in the ointment, as they said in Die Hard, not a Christmas movie. He never won a title at Gonzaga. And that's, I think, something he wants. You win the title at Gonzaga, that is the stuff of statues. That's the stuff. You win a title at Kentucky, congratulations, you're Tubby Smith, right? Nothing against Tubby Smith, but congratulations, you're Tubby Smith.
Now,
right? You are one of a slew of people. You win a title at Kentucky. You win a title at Gonzaga, you get a statue. If he doesn't already have a statue, he might already get a statue.
Yeah. Now, Billy Donovan. Yeah.
That is above human status, right?
I mean, now don't get me wrong. Like Billy Donovan, I think is still a strong choice, but like in a dream world where like you could get anybody. Yeah, I mean, if I was a Kentucky fan, you'd be. I'll say your point on the championships is very valid, but I'd also look and be like, there's never a chance we're gonna get upset in the first or second round ever again, because that's not what Mark Few is as good as they come.
Well,
man.
you know who's the best in first rounds in the NCAA tournament?
Is that him, right?
Dana Altman's a perfect 8-0.
Okay, so well, and this is where I think there's a comparison between those two. Even if Mark Few had that itch and was like telling his wife, honey, I'm 60. This is it, right? We're either going to be in Gonzaga forever or we're going to try. I think he's a little like Dana Altman, where it's like, I don't want to be a celebrity.
Yeah, I don't want to be that rock star.
So that's
Cal
why
probably loved it. He embraced it. He was the best at it. Calipari and Pitino, in terms of Kentucky coaches, like those were the best at it. Tubby Smith won a lot, so
And it'd be tough for Billy. I mean, Billy did it. He'd have to go back to his college roots, and that's where I wonder.
But he would have the thing that Billy Donovan would have is he has that relationship with Pitino. Remember, Billy Donovan played for him at Providence. He coached with him. He has that relationship with. He's got that Pitino cred that I think they still love there in Kentucky, even though he went to Louisville and won a championship that was taken away.
Did that Calipari video not seem like the most awkward thing? It was just like.
All right, we might talk about that next. Stuff I saw on the internet. John Calipari in the middle of all of this, walking a dog with a stroller. Is the dog in the stroller? We talk about that and other stuff I saw on the internet next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. Little segment we call Stuff I Saw on the Internet. Like most of you, I live on the internet. I spend too much time on the internet. I had to tell myself yesterday, hey, Justin, you are in maybe the best seats you've ever been in any particular game ever. Get off your phone. Because, I'm like, I was on the gram, right? Because I posted a picture of me sitting courtside on the gram, and I put it out on X as well. People can find it at Justin Myers 541. Busted out the good kicks, too. Busted out, like, I got home from the game, and my wife was sitting there, and she looked at my sneakers. By the way, the sneakers that she bought me, they are bright red Air Jordan 11s. They stand out.
Oh, yeah, I saw them, man. They look good.
They pop.
I got a pair of shoes just for Blazer games, too. Who doesn't?
And so my wife saw that I wore my red shoes, right? Just like, a hot girl in her 20s who's got her red shoes, right? I got middle-aged dude in his 40s. And she was like, did anybody compliment your sneakers? And I go, no, not one person. She's like, because you wore them to try to get noticed, didn't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, I did. You also bought them for me. So it's kind of on you too. But yeah, she called me out. It's like, you wore your red Jordan 11s. Like, you were looking to get compliments, weren't you? And I was like, yes, I was. I was sitting courtside at the Blazer game, and I'm like, if there's ever a time to wear the shoes that pop, this would be the day. There are a lot of nice shoes around there. Let me just say, because I have a habit of looking at other people's shoes. A lot of nice shoes. But anyways, yeah, I do remind myself, hey, be in the moment. Watch this game. You're probably never, ever, ever going to be here ever again. So appreciate it. And I did. But like most of you, I spend too much time on the internet. And I think this video came out. Now I'm going to describe it because playing the audio doesn't translate well. And we are an audio medium. So John Calipari, who for the last 3 days has been if not the biggest, the second biggest story in all of college basketball after Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies have now gone back-to-back. And Calipari is now leaving Kentucky and going to Arkansas in kind of an unprecedented move. Was he pushed out? Is this a mutual breakup? Is this hey, it's been real? Arkansas, by the way, we talk about that Kentucky horse money. Arkansas might be the sneakiest rich school in.
I know. I read about this too. I know why. Yep.
Jerry Jones, alum, and the Walmart Empire. And I think Tyson Chicken, too.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of, was the Tyson family. A lot of chickens.
And the Walton family.
Bentonville, Arkansas.
And Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Gajillionaire. Like, so they're...
Big Suey.
How come they haven't just...
Been better in what?
Bought a national title in college football yet?
Okay, in football. I was going to say, like, their baseball team is quite good.
Sure.
Their basketball team is usually... Like, Arkansas is usually
But
pretty...
how have they not... The Waltons, the Tysons, and Jerry Jones all get together in their lair there in Arkansas and go like, all right, what's it going to take?
Because the Waltons...
All right, everybody, what's it going to take?
The Waltons pushed all their chips into this franchise called the Broncos. And
yeah,
then
and they're paying Russell Wilson to win
coach
MVP for the Steelers next year.
Sean Payton. And you're right. They're like, oh, we got to pay $38 million to that quarterback who doesn't even play for us anymore.
Yeah, he's going to win for the Steelers
and
next year.
Jerry's got his own Dallas problems, man. I mean, Jerry tried to get the title and
I'm just saying it's amazing that Arkansas,
right.
in an SEC where the culture is win or be irrelevant, why they have not CTC. What? Cut the check.
I mean, like, look at what Musselman's done. He got the USC job out of it. I mean, he's built a nice little program over there.
So John Calipari is seen for the first time publicly since this story comes out, walking down what seems to be a very busy street, not back roads neighborhood, walking his dog. Now, Brenden, he's pushing a stroller. Now, I like John Calipari, and I understand that the criticisms of John Calipari, but I've always kind of liked John Calipari. I was a bit obsessed with his UMass teams with Marcus Camby when I was in high school, and I've always liked John Calipari. And I am a dog lover. I have a dog. I have a rescue dog. I love dog. Anybody that is in the dog world, what's the deal with the pushing the dog in the stroller? Like, what is that doing for anybody? Like, wouldn't the dog rather be just laying on a bed somewhere? Now, you have a smaller dog.
I do.
I have Crash, A, does not fit in a stroller, and B, would not sit in a stroller. He likes his bed, and then we go for walks, but he would not sit in a stroller, even if I wanted to, but I would not, because he's a dog. You have a smaller dog. You got the stroller? Do you have the dog stroller?
No.
No. Okay.
Now,
So help me out here. What's up with the dogs? Like, is
Now-
it just to get like their get some stimulation? Like get out of, but like you take the dog from sitting in the house to sitting in the stroller. Now this dog was also running around as he was pushing this. Is the stroller there in case they go too far and the dog gets tired?
yeah.
And you're like
I said,
you're not going to make it home, so
I've never understood the like again, as somebody who does have a small dog, and I've even dressed up my dog from time to time. She has a Christmas sweater, she has a winter sweater, she has a Halloween outfit, she has a little jersey, says wide retreater, kind of funny, which is great. Justin just died laughing, man. He's enjoying himself over there.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, like I could never, and I'm not judging, just observing. I never understood those people who could put their dog in their purse or put their dog in
like the carrier.
Yeah, like there's just a step too far for me. Hey, if you do it,
I see them all the
you do
time
you,
at the grocery store.
But I like to walk my dog. My dog needs the exercise.
Yeah, and look, old Crash is getting a little old. And the walks are getting a little bit shorter, and it's just
Totally.
It's just part of life. But like, I could not imagine like. Now we got to get the stroller, but he's walking his dog. Well, he's walking a stroller. The dog seems to be walking behind him, and then maybe in the stroller for part, in and out. I don't know, but
Odd day.
he seems to be
yesterday.
doing it on a very busy street.
Yeah, it looks like there's like many cars passing.
As if anybody is like, "Hey, it's on Kelp."
Like that's Cal.
If somebody grabs the phone and gives the everything to say to your fans, and he was like, nope, just walking my dog. Like, nope, I have no comments. Please let me be. I just am walking my dog. It's like, yeah, dude, you know how big Kentucky fan base is.
Well, and it's
you
just-
know that you are the top story, if not maybe the top 2 story in college basketball, and you're walking down what seems to be the busiest street in Lexington.
And are you surprised, Justin, that like, I looked at and then in the video where he's sitting on his couch explaining, he's like, we've had opportunities. We're discussing as a family. Dude, Arkansas tweeted about you this morning.
Yeah, it's over. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was more concerned about the dog stroller than I was about, like, hey, you want to go from Kentucky to Arkansas? You do you, Cal. Let's get rid of the dog stroller. Come on. All right. Coming up next, hour number 3 of Rip City Morning, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trailblazers fell to the New Orleans Pelicans last night at Moda Center, 110-100. Nice night from DeAndre Ayton, who dropped in 30 points, but a season-high 28 turnovers for the Blazers and a lackluster fourth quarter cost them the game against the Pelicans. Next up, they'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors tomorrow night, also at Moda Center. Oregon State running back Damien Martinez set to hit the transfer portal despite months of saying loyalty is important to him and he's not going anywhere. Apparently, neither of those are true because he will be one of the most sought-after running backs in the portal. And Stanford women's basketball coach Tara Vanderveer is set to retire as the all-time winningest coach with 1,216 victories. Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joins us in about 20 minutes. We also have an RCM mailbag. Hour 3, though, of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Wednesday. As I just mentioned in the update, Tyson Alger is going to be joining the show. We also are going to have an RCM mailbag. The big news of the day yesterday, Damien Martinez hitting the transfer portal. Shocking many of Beaver Nation as he has spent from December. Didn't really hear from him in January, though. But then in February, March, spring practice, as early as 3 weeks ago at the beginning of spring practice, Damien Martinez was talking about how loyalty is incredibly important to me. This is why I chose to stay. He tweeted out, I'm not going anywhere. And according to multiple reports, also signed a pretty hefty NIL deal with the Beaver Collective, somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. Now, Pete Thamel reported that. Pete Thamel is pretty dialed in. Brenden, you are as dialed in as anybody. I don't know if you've heard any numbers with regard to Damien Martinez, but does that sound about right?
That's in the ballpark. I actually heard it was more. So,
well, he gone. He packed up his stuff, and now there are two ways to look at this. Obviously, there is the first way, which is, boy, it has been a rough 2 weeks for Oregon State, from men's basketball to women's basketball, and now the football team losing multiple players to NIL. This was a sad reality, though, with the Pac-12. Now, you thought that maybe with the Pac-12 decision that came down in Eastern Washington that essentially told Washington State and Oregon State that they were going to continue to profit as the sole members of the Pac-12 conference and that they would continue to maybe keep their head above water over the next couple years financially with this decision. But that doesn't take into account collectives, right? That money goes to the athletic department, so you don't have to fire assistant coaches. That money doesn't go directly to the players, and the money that does is coming from outside influences, which, again, is the root of evil of college football right now, which is there is no transfer rules, right? Oh, there's 2 windows. Like, yeah. Are we in the window right now? No. Did Damien Martinez just leave? Yeah. So, clear, and again, I don't know for a fact. I just know. The transfer windows were essentially there to prevent coaches from poaching other players, right? Isn't that pretty much why? Because you think, well, why would you even have a transfer window? Guy doesn't want to be there. He's going to leave. Well, the whole reason why the transfer portal window is there is so that if you see a guy enters the portal, but it's outside of the window, you're not allowed to talk to them. You can't recruit a player. But we're not idiots here. We know how the world works. We have all had jobs, and how many times have you quit one job where you didn't already have another one lined up? Is it ethical? I don't know. But in college football, supposed to go with the... You think Damien Martinez just... Now, maybe he did. Maybe Damien Martinez was just like, I'm not seeing what I need to see in Corvette, but I have a hunch he knows his next step. He knows exactly where he's going. He knows the NIL deal he is going to get from said collective, whether that's Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, or Michigan State. He knew exactly what was going on because players don't just leave without a landing spot, or at least a player of that caliber. Some players, they do, and they end up getting lost in the shuffle. So more and more we are seeing these stories of players going in, collecting this NIL money, and for a lot of fans or for a lot of people in the college football world, you're probably like, okay, great. Couple of boosters lost a couple $1,000. Boo hoo hoo, cry me a river. You guys are millionaires. This is a little different. This was fans, like crowdsourcing, paying donations not only to the athletic department, but paying donations to this collective to try to keep whatever was the semblance of a back-to-back 10-win team with chewing gum, dental floss, and duct tape together. It's like, can we just keep our running back?
Yeah, I mean, this money was built off of, $50, $15, $100 donations just from Beaver fans that, like you said, were trying to stop the bleeding. And again, obviously getting a chance to check out social media yesterday, there was a giant Twitter space that had quite a few number of fans on it that I checked in just to kind of see what the vibes were. And there were a lot of fans, Justin, that were like, I'm done with giving money, excess money for season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I just paid so much money to get an official Damien Martinez jersey. Can I return that jersey? And just the fact that it feels like what you just said, they had collectively done all they could in the last few months, and then still to kind of be like, the old hook and crook, as they say. It just, there was a lot of frustration, and I doubt it's gone this morning. I guarantee you there's a lot of frustrated Oregon State fans this morning, and I don't blame you. It's 100% fair.
Here's what I wonder moving forward, right? Not just for Oregon State, but I think for other schools who are maybe going to be in Oregon State's situation, maybe not a team without a conference, but a team that is not one of the rich kids, right? Because there's only so many scholarships. There's only so many spots on a football field, and there's going to be other schools who are going to attempt to maybe keep homegrown players home and try to keep, maybe a quarterback around for one more. You think about like Utah, right? Utah trying to keep Cam Rising for another year probably cost them some money in NIL. You know what I mean? But Utah's not exactly, unlimited pockets. Now, I think the Mormon Church has some cash. They own a lot of real estate. Don't know how liquid it is. But I wouldn't say Utah is clearly Oregon. They're one of the rich kids. They got Phil Knight. It's just that's the reality. Texas A&M, that's oil money. Texas, energy, right? There's Michigan. Michigan is snooty Ann Arbor, big money donors. There are teams out there that can afford to just continue to cut check after check after check. And then there's other schools out there that are going to be doing what Oregon State did, which is essentially all right, we got to keep this quarterback or this running back here. This is all we have. Here, can we work with this? And if teams continue to get spurned, where guys take the money and then transfer, what's going to be next, right? What is ultimately coming down the pike? Nobody has any sympathy for USC losing defensive lineman Bear Alexander, right? Nobody has any sympathy for that because USC kind of has unlimited coffers when it comes to the NIL. But what happens when Oregon State pays a guy? Who knows, right? $400,000 was the number. Did he get all of it? I bet he got some of it.
Yeah.
Now, is that maybe compensation for obviously a handful of years already in Corvallis? Maybe you could make that argument. But if I'm somebody who's cutting a check and then that player takes the check and then heads right out the door, are there going to be lawsuits? Are there what is ultimately going to be the ramifications of this? Because I don't know if you can have a system where At some point, these rich guys are going to stop spending money stupidly.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
get
just
rich
throwing it away.
by being stupid with your money, right? Usually rich guys are the cheapest guys.
It's true.
And all of a sudden now you're just watching thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars walk out the door.
I mean,
Good luck.
It's true. And, Justin, just to kind of put a bow tie on this. So as you were speaking, Damien Martinez tweeted out his official goodbye. And
Did he say once a beaver, always a beaver?
Something to that extent. It's the usual mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
Please respect my decision.
Oh yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
The
Yeah.
beautiful
We
respect my decision.
But
Like,
we live in a funny world, Justin, where this the tweet, but then his agent is tagged in it. Could you imagine what that would have been like 5 to 10 years ago to tag an agent in a tweet where you're saying goodbye? But it's it's the same, kind of like Justin and I say, it's the like almost stock copy paste. This is why I'm leaving. Please respect my decision. Great memories. Oh, once a beef, always a beef. Except you're not. But
here's the other thing, and I've got about a minute and a half to go off on this. I understand if recruits, when you decommit and you do the whole please respect my decision, you're a high school kid, you're trying to figure out where you got to go to college. It's a very tough decision, and who knows how much NIL is involved there. Save me the please respect my decision. No. You took the check. You get the criticism to come along with it. Welcome to the Thunderdome, right? Welcome to the real world. This is what happens, right? You don't just get to have your cake and eat it too. You don't just get to I remember when I heard that phrase, I'm like, we're getting cake? It's like, no, it's a phrase. But you know what I mean? It's like
cake.
Oh, please respect my decision. Like, no. You took the money.
You did.
You became a professional. Guess what happens with professionals? Criticism comes along with it. You are no longer protected by they're just kids and they're not getting paid. Well, guess what? You're getting paid now, and the criticism comes along with it. All right. We're going to talk to Tyson Alger, who is a very good friend of the program. That's coming up in just a bit. We do have an RCM mailbag, but before we get to all that, I do want to tell you about the good folks at DeBella. That's right. They're Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. They're a proud supporter of Operation Homefront, and they have 15,000 plus 5-star reviews. That's right, 15,000 plus 5-star reviews. That's not me telling you how good DeBella is, even though I tell you each and every day. That's not them telling you. It's their customers. Their customers are telling you because they have got not only all those 5-star reviews, but accolades from Angie's List, Home Advisor. They've been featured in Better Homes and Garden, HGTV, and with all of that, you might think, Justin, this is going to be really expensive. How about this? No payments until 2025. That's on approved credit, but no payments until 2025. And if you are concerned about your budget, you want to save some money? How about you go solar? That's right. You could potentially pay for a brand new roof with savings to your energy bill and federal and state incentives when you go solar. Updating your roof with solar shingles. DeBella has all the details. Contact them for an easy, free, and convenient estimate today. They are Oregon's experts when it comes to roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations. They are DeBella. All right, very excited to welcome back to the big show. Friend of the program. He is the founder, the CEO, the president, the head of the party planning committee. And I heard he just did a Q&A with top-level executives at the I-5 corridor. He is Tyson Alger back on the big show. Good morning, Tyson. How are we doing?
I'm doing good, Justin. How are you, man?
Well, I was just curious. We were talking about it this morning. Have you been to a plaid pantry in and around Columbia Boulevard anywhere in the last, 5 to 6 days?
I can either confirm or deny, just based on safety. But had I, as I was talking earlier, had I won said Powerball winnings, I would probably politely decline our morning interview this morning.
That's what I was talking to again, super producer Brenden, the fact that I saw that Plaid Pantry sold the Powerball, the whatever, 1.4 billion, and I'm like, well, you've been at work for 3 days, so clearly it's not you. And I'm like, if Tyson does not answer the phone this morning, because I don't know if I would even get a text of like, hey bud, I'm out, money bag emoji. I just think it might just be as the kids say, ghost, which I would respect. I would respect the ghost if that was you.
If I won $1.3 billion, this is the Tyson Alger I-5 corridor pledge. If I won $1.3 billion, I would give every I-5 corridor subscriber $50K, just a cool $50K.
Okay.
And you've been there for 2.5 years, so compound the interest. Like we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, can we do like a tiered system? I mean,
well, you are one of the 50 best follows according to the I-5 corridor on X. So I mean, that's got to throw in another like $20.
I think so. I think, I hear inflation's a thing. I don't know how it works, but I don't know. Everybody keeps screaming about it on X that inflation is a thing. All right, let's dive into the big news that came yesterday, which was it was kind of shocking, Tyson. We've talked about the transfer portal and the mass exodus that seems to be going on in both Corvallis and Washington State. But it seemed as though Damien Martinez was different. It seemed as though he was going to be the guy that was going to stay, and that Beaver fans were going to not only reward with their loyalty and their love, but also reward with a pretty hefty NIL package, only to find out that 2 weeks into spring practice and after spring break happened, Damien Martinez packed his bags and left. I was surprised. How surprised were you yesterday when you saw that news?
I mean, I was surprised by the news itself, but ultimately this isn't super surprising. I mean, you kind of started to feel like, oh, this could go everything that could go wrong for Oregon State the last year has, and you get this monumental win of this fantastic player saying that he's going to want to come back, and they start building hashtags around it, and it's you build your identity around it. It's oh no. They're kind of setting themselves up here. And I think it's just the economics of what this is now. And that's not saying it's right. And, I think we are kind of moving into an era where you do have to shift a little bit of not necessarily the blame, but the ownership on the player at least, because this definitely was a player that did take a 2.5 month victory lap around Corvallis of being, I'm the guy who didn't leave only to then leave. And, I've unfortunately never been in the shoes where I'm, debating whether $400,000 is enough for me to run for a year, or if it's, more than that. But between that and then the women's basketball news, I think is even more grating, just because, I think even the most realistic Oregon State football fan kind of looks at the future, even, maybe even the recent past and goes hey, we're just hoping to compete. We're not actually we don't realistically think that we're going to win a national championship or be able to contend for that, because it's just so out of the realm of the financials. But with women's basketball, they just showed this year that they can put together just as good of a program and do so much more with less, and that's still not enough. And I think that's what's really devastating and hard to kind of comprehend this morning.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting is ultimately where this all heads, right? Because turns out NCAA's their hands are tied. They can't regulate NIL because of antitrust. Can't really regulate the transfer portal either because, a judge kind of slapped an injunction on them. and said, yeah, nobody can be limited anytime ever. The only thing is you can't play for two teams in one season. It's like, okay, yep, got that. But I'm wondering, Tyson, like, how long are these donors, and I would assume pretty financially savvy folks that built up enough of a nest egg to be able to give it to kids to play football for their alma mater. How many times are they going to write checks only to have that player leave before we start seeing some kind of ramification and some kind of regulation, if not official, some kind of unofficial, like contracts, lawsuits? Like it, this is, again, it's been murky waters for the last couple of years, but this just adds another log onto that fire of, boy, you keep cashing checks for guys that keep leaving.
Yeah, from kind of an NCAA wide standpoint, or college football wide, like you would think something's got to happen there, especially as this, like, we get more and more examples of guys kind of spurning what they had agreed on and leaving. But if there's, like, the counter to that is you just start to think that, okay, maybe the people who have the money who are offering it up to players are going to start getting more selective with it. But I think that's where Oregon State's going to get hurt even more because, I can't imagine it was easy for them to compile $400,000 to pay Damien Martinez. Like that's when I saw that number, it was like, whoa, like that's a substantial amount of money. I'm going to guess like the next great Oregon State player, they're going to be a little bit more, nitpicky on how they give that money. Like, are we talking about like a 10-hour suited up interview, like a job interview? Like, tell me your five favorite restaurants in town and how often you visit them, that sort of thing. But so yeah, like I think that's going to continue to hurt a place like Oregon State that, probably has a little bit more limited donors and people who aren't just necessarily throwing around $400K all the time. But you look at some of the super teams and these super conferences, like I don't think they're going to run out of those people to throw that money around.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Look at this transition. It's almost as if we planned it because you mentioned super teams and super conferences, Tyson. Last week, the day after you and I had talked, there was a story that was published by your former employer at The Athletic talking about a super league that college sports tomorrow, which again, it sounds like a presentation you have to sit through during orientation. Like it's college sports tomorrow because today's too late, But this group of people led by Gordon Gee there at West Virginia, the chancellor of Syracuse, and essentially talking about this super league of 80 teams. I can't imagine the SEC and the Big Ten are going to willingly give up power and maybe redistribute the money that they have already negotiated through these schools. But I get the sense that this is ultimately where we end up, which is back in 1992 and 10-team, they'll call it divisions, but they were conferences. Maybe it's the SEC and the Big Ten running it, but what are your thoughts on ultimately college football kind of going to this super league format of like, yeah, it's just going to be 80 teams. There's going to be, 7, 10-team divisions. We're going to have a protected lower division that can relegate and promote and all that stuff. Like, is that ultimately where we're headed?
Yeah, and I think you could call like the collection of the teams on the West Coast, like along the Pacific Ocean, like they could be like the Pacific division or
there's
Pacific
10 of them.
Conference.
There's
maybe,
10 of them, so maybe
depending
Pacific
on
10,
if
yeah.
there's like 10 to 12 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, in the Midwest, like those are some big schools. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe like Big Ten. We just call it that.
But what if there was 12 of them also, but like a little bit more south?
Yeah, I think that'll work.
I mean, you'd probably want to have some like variation in the name. So like maybe like instead of, like you have the Big Ten, and then maybe just so it's very clear, then you have the Big 12.
Got it. Yes.
I mean, I'm for this idea. Like, I think this is kind of like the natural, like people are looking around and being like, oh, did we make a big mistake? And so like, it kind of gets like an idea out there, but like ultimately, like this is going to come down to the Big Ten and the SEC and ESPN and Fox and how much money that they like want to not take because essentially that's how this whole thing happened. Like college football blew up because of these TV networks, and now And now we're going like, oh, maybe they'll be the ones that like come back to their senses and say like, let's try to incorporate like the rest of football. Like sure, that might happen down the road, but it's not going to happen until they milk absolutely every penny they can out of like this next iteration of conference realignment. So, yeah, I mean, like, I think that Super League might be a way to kind of combine things and put a pin in things, but I don't think anything like that is happening for at least a decade, especially with the way that the current TV contracts are written.
Yeah, that's where you get kind of the sticking point in all of this. It's a fine presentation, and I think what's frustrating is I think most fans look, we can't go back, right? We can't go back as much as I would love to get right in the DeLorean and crank it up to about 2019 and just be like, let's just start over again, gang, and let's try this again. We can't do that. So I think it's a good idea that, again, serves the fans. It serves and you're going to bring in revenue and actually share that with the players. They'll get a base salary. It all makes too much sense. But like you said, the sticking point is the Big Ten and the SEC are like, yeah, we got a deal through 2033, and it's around $1 billion. So good luck getting us to rip up that deal to potentially drastically and dramatically shift the sport like we've never seen it before.
And by 2020 and by 2033, like, who the heck knows what's happened to the rest of the college football by then? Like, you might not have a super league to put together by then, and maybe that's like the whole is just kind of putting the candy bar in front of the dog and telling them they're running. Boy, that's a terrible analogy.
Terrible.
We're going to go with
you don't give your dogs candy.
Not your dog. My dog's a champion.
Really? Speaking of dogs, did you see John Calipari walking his dog with a stroller? I mean, I know he's like the biggest news in college basketball. He's going to Arkansas, blah blah blah. He walks his dog with a stroller. Tyson, how you feeling about that?
I was so hoping there was going to just be like a in there or like just like something like really creepy. Like this is the start of like the Southeast Shining or something. Just.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor is joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's talk some college hoops, Tyson. We saw both tournaments wrap up. So first time ever, women's basketball game outdraws the men's game. Caitlin Clark effect, clearly part of that. I think the moment that women's college basketball is having right now had an effect on that. Also, maybe playing your game on Monday night on cable, not the best idea if you want to draw in a big number. But regardless, the numbers came in. The women outdrew the men. And we've talked about it a handful of times. I'm fascinated to see where women's basketball goes from here. I don't think it's just the Caitlin Clark show, and then when she moves on to the WNBA that everything comes back down to earth. I think there's going to be a smidge of that, but I'm fascinated to see what happens with women's basketball now moving forward, that they have had this moment. People are watching it at a higher number than ever before, more so than the men. I'm curious, like, to see how they capitalize kind of on this magical one-year run that kind of started with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese trash-talking each other in the national title game last year.
Yeah, I think they were really fortunate that, obviously they had two, really good players in Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and one absolute mega superstar in Clark. But, those two kind of both came along at a time where it does look like there's some pretty good talent, coming behind. Like if you went to the Portland Regional last week and like watched like at USC and some of those teams, like the women's game is in a really good spot. The tough thing that they're going to have to kind of get through is finding like what's next after like the must watch star is gone. Because Caitlin Clark was different, and it's not even just like different for the women's game. Like there's every few years there seems like there's a star in one sport that just kind of becomes like that the it thing. And for the last couple of years, I'd argue Caitlin Clark's been the biggest star in America, as big of a star in American sports. And so I think it's the overall quality of the women's game is better. I think the general American knowledge of the women's game is a lot better, but it's definitely, it's going to be an adjustment when you try to kind of go from must-see TV to like must-see season or must-see league, if that makes sense. And so I think, they're going to keep trending in the right direction, but it'll be really, really interesting to see how they go about marketing, like who's going to be the next star. You kind of had a little bit of that with Sabrina and that Oregon team at first, and then I think obviously Caitlin came to Iowa and that thing kind of blew up exponentially. But it's like the tough thing for college sports and women's college sports right now is like, you would kind of compare Caitlin Clark to like the Steph Curry effect. But the thing is Steph Curry doesn't graduate and then go to a different league. Like, he stays with the Warriors for over a decade. So it'll be fascinating to see who becomes next and that next star for that league.
Also, usually when you get kind of these superstars, like marketing and leadership of the leagues kind of, lean into that, because clearly college sports has such tremendous leadership. You know what I mean? At all levels, right?
Yeah.
Just a lot of people driving the bus in the proper direction. Never strayed.
This kind of sounds like you're trying to say that Caitlin got some foul calls during the tournament that set them up to get to the finals.
No,
Are you crying conspiracy here on the morning radio waves?
I wish, again, Tyson, this is where I, like the conspiracy theorist, I wanted to sit down and be like, let's have a conversation. You think that the NCAA, that has fumbled everything for the last 5 years with regard to COVID, with regard to the transfer portal and NIL, that they are going to be so coordinated and calculated to be able to get UConn and Iowa in a 1-point game with 5 seconds, only to give an egregious moving screen call and rob the women's college basketball, which is seeing its most viewers ever, of a potential game-winning shot? Yeah. Tell me how that makes sense, conspiracy theorists.
Well, one might say that in order to be so good at one thing, you have to be so bad at everything else. So maybe that's everything that the NCAA has been putting its work towards.
Yeah, it's like Rain Man with the blackjack. It's like, they got that one thing figured out. Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, cool thing going on with the corridor. I'm insanely jealous of your guy who's at the Masters. Again, I have put in for the Masters tickets a lot. Still have not popped up on the lottery, but you have got you've got a correspondent, Kevin Palmer. You got a correspondent there in Augusta covering the Masters for the corridor.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I used to love about journalism. I think the first time that I went into the Oregonians' offices when I was an intern there, like you'd open up the paper and you'd see like a Ken Go byline from New York or a John Canzano byline from, it was just like that. The paper would cover every major event in the country because they were the paper of record. And we really believe the I-5 corridor is the paper of record. And when I have a friend who drunkenly boasts how cool it is he's going to Augusta and suck on that, everybody, like, okay, Kevin, I'm going to put you to work. And so, fortunately, I've had him sending me audio dispatches at the end of the day, kind of like a daily journal of what Augusta's like, what it's like following Tiger around, and how many pimento cheese sandwiches he can stuff into his belly throughout the week. So very, very, very serious content this week on the I-5 corridor. It
is amazing that with the Masters, the food comes up every single year, right? I don't know how they've been able to put. I know the prices because look, I was at the ball game last night. I know all too well about stadium prices, but the prices for the beers and the sandwiches and everything else. But yeah, the fact that always seems to pop up. Where are you on pimento cheese sandwich? I have not had the pleasure of a good pimento cheese sandwich. I would dabble, but where are you? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm gonna. It's an incomplete thumb at this point because yesterday, everyone's talking about pimento cheese sandwiches this week. I happened to be at New Seasons and I looked in like the cheese section and they had some pimento cheese. Yeah. So I was like, I'll get some white bread and some pimento cheese. Never had this stuff before. It's kind of funky. The bread I got was a little too thick. I'm assuming they probably do it better in Augusta than they do up here in St. John's in the I-5 corridor North Bureau. But I don't know. It's got potential.
I probably like those things where like a hot dog on your couch on a Tuesday, not that great. Hot dog at the ballpark on a sunshiny day might as well be a steak at the Ritz. You know what I mean? So it must be like maybe it's the ambiance of Augusta National.
It it's 100% the ambiance and also likely the price, because I think they're like $2
I know.
at the actual golf course. I believe, if I saw this correctly, you can eat the entire menu at Augusta for $65. Meanwhile, Monday night I was watching the men's championship game at a bar, and they had $4 just chips and cheese cup, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, and that's double what a pimento cheese sandwich is at Augusta.
You know what though? You can't beat the ambiance and the atmosphere of the local dive bar with the chips and cheese cup. Tyson Alger, you can find him on X at Tyson Alger. You can subscribe to the I-5 corridor, and it's free all this month. And we'll look forward to talking to you next week, bud.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
There you go, Tyson Alger, everybody. We have got the RCM mailbag to wrap up the big show next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits, and I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. You know it, you love it. It is the RCM mailbag, and here we go. Can I reverse mailbag it real quick? Reverse mailbag, which means I asked Brenden the question. So last night I was lucky enough to sit on the court. I was sitting courtside at the Blazer game last night, and I was thinking, is that the best seats I've ever had? Probably for the price, and again, price was right for me because I got lucky. But for the price, probably the most expensive seats I've ever been in. I think I've had a couple of credentialed spots that were really good. What's the best seats you've ever sat in?
Couple times. I went to some Blazer games when my dad's company had tickets that were like fourth row up.
Boom.
So those were pretty, and we went a couple times. They were good, right?
Yeah. They were not good. In the fourth quarter last night.
What a concept, right? But like 2017, 2018, like they were really good, and you got to go see really good basketball. That comes to mind. I've never. So,
what are the best credentialed seats you've ever had? I know mine. I got two. Which, I think the listeners, they love hearing us talk about our credentialed seats.
Yeah, probably the women's basketball Final Four.
There you go.
Or, actually, no. By far and away, the two best credentials I've ever had have been SoFi and Allegiant Stadium. Those things are like
even sitting up there.
It's just
right.
See, I'm an amenities guy, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm like the snooty media where it's like you're gonna win me over by having a soda machine, Oregon State, food, Oregon State, and if you don't,
and really good Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
like really good Wi-Fi.
And all three of those stadiums have that.
I got to I was credentialed for the first and second round in Portland, and me and friend of the program Steve Tannen, who's going to be joining us tomorrow, we sat. We were front row. We were in the front row of seats in the media credentialed, and so we were like right behind Gonzaga's bench for a first and second round game. That was really fun, like because you can hear the coaches, right? Everything with the coaches. So those, and then we also did a pregame show on the roof of the Rose Bowl. That's not really a credentialed but we did an Oregon pregame show on the roof of the Rose Bowl.
I did it. Yeah, I'll throw in two more.
Because I went to the Final Four in 2017, but the seats aren't good. Like they're look, not complaining, but like Tyson had great seats for that game. But our seats were kind of behind the basket, behind the student section, and in the end zone, shall we say, of Glendale, of the football stadium. But
so I feel like great seats are kind of subjective because like. For to your point, like you reminded me of like when I was broadcasting games. I had broadcasted games from the top of Autzen Stadium and the top of Stanford Stadium, and both of them were like unique ways that I would be like, I'd never get to go on the roof now.
Never.
So I don't know. Like that's kind of cool, I guess. I was always freezing at Autzen though outside.
The Rose Bowl.
I like being inside now.
Rose Bowl is beautiful.
Like this year when I went to Autzen for the second to last time I'll ever go to Autzen Stadium. Last time ever. Circle it, folks. Michigan State coming to Autzen Stadium.
Well, you'll be at Autzen Stadium. You'll just be there in September in 2 years, right?
Are we assuming this game gets played more than once? It might be such a bloodbath this year that
I think it'll continue to be played. I really do.
I have no sources. It's just my.
I thought they agreed to like a long-term, essentially a handshake agreement of we're going to play every single year.
Maybe
I think it's going to happen.
Maybe it was.
Which is why like Oregon gave up a home game to go to Corval. Like it.
Yeah.
You'll be back.
But regardless, all that to say, it's going to be and especially if a certain running back goes there, you're going to see Oregon State fans come out against Sparty like you've never seen before this fall, Justin. So that'll be exciting. But let's go ahead and we'll see. Let's go ahead and open up the rest of the mailbag today. Something I'm curious that you and Pounce mentioned yesterday that I want to talk about a little bit more. Justin, why do you think McDonald's was able to nail the Happy Meal? Why were they able to
this is a
gather
very good question.
kids' minds? And like you told me, you're like, Other places have kids meals, but they're crummy compared to McDonald's. It's not a Happy Meal.
I'm not
Why?
I'm not a businessman, right? I'm not an entrepreneur.
Not Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's.
No, but here's my theories on this. It's called a Happy Meal, right? It's not called a kids meal. It's called a Happy Meal. It's different. That's like it's a Kleenex, not a tissue, right? It's a Xerox, not a copy machine. That's what you got with the Happy Meal. You go to other places, like, hey, you go to Burger King and you order a Happy Meal, right? Because so they're in first, name recognition. Second thing, toys were better. They, like, whatever they did with the Beanie Babies, with the Transformers, the toys were better. And ultimately, Brenden, what do kids love?
Toys.
No, other of the food. What, like, kids, what is the first love in fast food if you're a child?
French fries.
The French fries.
Yeah.
And
you can't blame me for...
and the McDonald's fries
Yeah.
are the best. Burger King, their fries have been jacked since day one.
You
The
can't
Whopper,
blame me for
I love
thinking...
a Whopper. I love the Whopper, but their fries are jacked, and it's tough to get over. And if you're a kid, those McDonald's fries. So I think those are the reasons why. I think that, and then you just grow up like, I want a Happy Meal. You go to McDonald's, you associate that with just the best time ever. Remember the time, like, not very often, but like, like you weren't planning on going, and then your parents go, hey, let's go through McDonald's. You're like, this is heaven. This is absolute heaven. I thought I was going home to eat regular food at home, and we're going to go to McDonald's now as a surprise?
I mean,
the
but
best.
are you old enough to have been like begging your parents to take you to McDonald's for the toys? Like, I remember distinctly.
See, I was always I was a food kid. I wanted the food.
Yeah, mid 2010s when they started. Like, I remember when they had like little handheld Sega video games they gave away for a while. There were, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what else. Just like, movie toys or. There were Star Wars, but it was like the coolest thing to like go be like, all right, I got to go get the toys. And then it's like, you'd be like, you go in, Justin, and then you talk to the person, you'd be like, well, I already have the dragon, so I need the other one. And you give them a little wink, and you'd hope you'd get the other one.
Didn't go to McDonald's for the toys. You know what we did go for, though, that wasn't food? The McDonald's, or the Monopoly game. Then I found out that the Monopoly game was rigged the entire time.
Yeah.
That
McMillions.
The McMillions, which was nuts. But yeah, as a kid was the biggest thing ever. The Monopoly game at McDonald's, can we just stop? Can we just stop and get? I just want to. Can I just get a Dr. Pepper, and then you get the peel off, and like maybe you'll get brought. Like that was it in terms of more than the Happy Meal toy. It was the Monopoly game. Oh, boy.
Monopoly was, even when they brought it back a few years ago before COVID, it's still so much fun.
I know.
Even though it was scammed, it was still fun.
The whole thing was scammed the whole time. All right. That's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor. Thanks to super producer Brenden. And, of course, thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Wednesday. We're back at it tomorrow morning here on 620 Rip City Radio.